Councillor Jones,
Against refusal.
Councillor Moder, Councillor Salafas,
Against the refusal.
Councillor Scott,
For the refusal.
Councillor Wellband,
For.
and Councillor Worrell.
Against.
So we have 8 councillors voting for the refusal, 3 councillors voting against the refusal. So the motion to refuse the application is carried.
Thank you, Sarah. So that application is refused. Thank you, everyone. So our next application is in Lutterworth, 25/01510/FUL. Aldo House, Crescent Road, Lutterworth, demolition of existing building and redevelopment into a 75-bed care home. Page 157 of your notes. And Ruth Meadows-Smith is going to present this one. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you, Chair. The application is to demolish an existing factory towards the centre of Lutterworth and erect a 75-bed care home in its place. This slide here shows an aerial photograph of the existing factory, which is believed it's from early 1920s initially. You can see here's the extent of the factory here, which you can see encompasses all of the site. There's built form all over the site, including the parking area here. So it's tight to the boundary. It has single-storey elements, which are mostly these, and then some sort of 1.5-storey elements, maybe 2-storey elements towards the front. The site has got a couple of electricity substations, one sort of here, and then one actually next to the site, which is here. There's also a service yard, which you can just about see in the aerial photograph, which is here. However, the main access and the parking is down here to the southeastern corner. Residential properties surround the site. This is an estate built in about the 1930s and predominantly 2-storey semi-detached houses. There's also here in this brighter red colour, that's a block of garages, single-storey garage block. These buildings here are 3-storey flats onto Leicester Road, which is here. This is the A426, the old coaching road north-south through Lutterworth. The image here on the right-hand side is the proposed landscaping plan. Here's the access. It's the same point as existing, albeit altered. Parking with the bin store and substation is shown here as well. This will be parking for cars, deliveries, ambulances and cycles. The existing service yard is closed off and there's landscaping and perimeter planting and boundary treatments all around. And as you can see, the 2 slides show quite a significant decrease in footprint from what's there at the moment to proposed. Yes. This is the proposed elevations. The one at the top is the south elevation, which faces onto Crescent Road in Lutterworth. This is the north elevation here. The height proposed is about 10.4 metres, depending where you measure it from, because the ground isn't quite level, but the width here is 34 metres wide. These are the proposed east and west elevations. And that's about 64 metres long. You can see that there's a mix of materials, including brick, render and cladding. And some brickwork is laid in a decorative pattern to alleviate the elevation. This is an applicant's visual of the south elevation onto Crescent Road. It's changed slightly since this was put in. This was one that they put in right at the start. It's changed slightly, but generally you get the idea of the south elevation as shown there. I've now got quite a few photographs showing the site in its context because members didn't go out on site. So here's the existing factory. This is Crescent Road here, and there's the existing factory on its south elevation. and the access is here behind these bushes. This is a 2-storey property, 12 Crescent Road. This here is a fairly new build property, 2A Fielding Way. And then this one here, this is their 2A Fielding Way. There's a substation. This is the existing service yard, and there's the factory there. These monopitch roofs are also part of the factory. Those are some of the single-storey elements that you can see. This is taken from the site's car park, and that's looking south onto Crescent Road here. You can see the older parts of the building, this split skillion roof there. And this here is taken from Whitcliffe Way. So this is to the west of the site. And you can just see there, that's the roof of some of the single-storey elements that you can see behind through the houses there. No, wrong way again. Here. This is looking down Crescent Road again from the west to the east. Here's 2A Fielding Way and 2 Fielding Way. You can see this was taken when the factory was still in use, so you can see the cars and lorries parked up there. And this is taken from the other side. So this is 12 Crescent Road looking across the site. This is this one here, bottom left corner. So this is from the garage block. So you can see there the rear elevations of the properties on Fielding Way. There's the garage block. And this is quite interesting. So this is Fielding Way coming up here, and Whitcliffe Way going that way, and this is the junction of those roads. And just in the background there you can see the 3-storey flats that are on Leicester Road. So that's those there, and just about below that there's single-storey elements from the existing factory. Yes, this is one taken in 2015 when I was case officer for other applications there. You can see that was when the factory was in full use. That's the access and the parking. This picture here is taken recently. This is from the flats on Leicester Road, looking through their site towards the factory site. And you can see the factory buildings there. This is quite useful to show the relationship between the existing flats on Leicester Road and existing houses. And that distance there, if I can find where I wrote it, is about 19.8 metres. So that will be useful perhaps in assessment by members. Objections have been raised by neighbouring properties and 2 local GP practices, and these are set out in the report. To address concerns raised about highway impacts, the applicants have carried out a full transport assessment, and unusually, and I give them credit for this, they have done video surveys, so not just traffic surveys, they've done had cameras up both sides on Crescent Road, and that evidence has been sent to the County Council Highway so they can see the real time highways impacts. They have seen all the objection and all the information and have no objection to it. To assess concerns about residential amenity impacts, the proposal is set off the boundaries and it meets minimum separation distances to minimise any loss of privacy or overlooking. The one place where it doesn't quite meet it is this south corner here to 2A Fielding Way. However, as set out at paragraph 6.28 in the report, a design solution has been proposed which is acceptable to officers on balance. And then, sorry, struggling today. Yeah, at the bottom photo on this slide shows a similar relationship between 3-storey flats and a 2-storey house. So that distance there is about the same as what's proposed with the scheme. Street scene and design impact has also been raised. While there will be a change, the proposal has a lesser plan form than the existing factory and is a similar height or lower than Welland House and these Leicester Road flats. Officers consider that the proposal will not be incongruous in the street scene because of this. In formulating the recommendation, officers have given weight to the material consideration of the existing factory use, which is unrestricted in terms of nature of manufacturing and hours of operation, and it has no restrictions regarding noise, odour and so on. The recommendation takes into account paragraph 125 of the NPPF, which states that planning decisions should give substantial weight to the value of using suitable brownfield land within settlements for homes and other identified needs, proposals for which should be approved unless substantial harm would be caused. In the planning balance, the proposal is considered to both comply with the development plan and deliver benefits, so it is recommended for approval, subject to a section 106 agreement and the conditions, including those as revised on the supplementary information. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ruth. We've got one speaker on this application, Tamsin Cottle. Would you like to come forward, please? Switch on the microphone. You've got 3 minutes and you'll be given a 30-second warning when it's near the end. Thank you. Start when you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Barcroft Estates. This proposal is for a care home providing care and support to those who are unable to reside independently. In many cases, the residents need 24-hour care, including those with dementia. There is an identified need for this use in Harborough. This is a brownfield site within the built-up area of a key centre, close to local shops, facilities and community uses. It is exactly the location that policy directs this use towards. Although the site has been in use for employment, there is no policy protection to resist this loss, and it is pertinent to note this is an older commercial unit requiring substantial rebuilding work to make it fit for purpose. And given its location surrounded by residential properties, the site is unlikely to be suitable for many employment uses. From the outset, the amenity of the surrounding residential uses was a key consideration in the siting of the building. The building was sited to ensure minimum distances were met and exceeded and purposely set as far back from the boundaries as could be achieved, with landscaping in between. During pre-app and the application, we've worked with your officers to try and address any concerns raised in this regard. Following pre-app discussions, the building was moved further away from Fielding Way to increase separation. And to note, the windows on the closest elevation to Fielding Way were always proposed to be fully obscured. But during the application, we have now moved the windows on the second floor to become roof lights. We've reduced the size of the windows on the first floor and now angled them away from 2 and 2A to further alleviate any concerns about overlooking. Also, as a result of officer requests during the pre-app, we amended the design to create the traditional frontage onto Crescent Road with the pitch roof. In doing so, this lowered this wing to 2.5 stories. Of equal importance to the scheme is the amenity of the end user and to provide the residents with their own indoor and outdoor amenity space. The scheme provides dedicated dining areas, hobby rooms, communal rooms, a cinema room, cafe, hairdresser. This is all to ensure the residents have a choice of space and activities to meet their need. The terraces located within the building provide a safe way for the residents to experience the outdoors when the weather is less favourable or when they're no longer able to access the outdoor space. The outdoor space includes safe pathways, seating areas, sensory areas, and their own gardening areas with raised planters. A landscaping plan demonstrates a BNG uplift of over 2,000% on the site. There are no statutory objections or technical reasons for refusal, and we accept the conditions being proposed.
Thank you very much.
There we go. We note that traffic
Sorry.
issues were highlighted
30 seconds remaining.
at the pre-app stage as being a potential issue. We therefore took the video survey to understand, and the conclusions reached were that Crescent Road operated within capacity, and this has been agreed with Highways. This development will make a valuable contribution to the availability of a specialist accommodation and care within Harborough in direct response to an urgent and growing need. We understand change can be difficult for the adjoining residents, but we hope the care home will prove to be a better neighbour than an unrestricted employment use. For the reasons set out, we feel the overall
3 minutes is up
balance
now. Thank you.
weighs in favour. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Sorry,
Any
Stacey.
questions? No, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll open it up to the committee. Anyone got anything to say? Councillor Sarfas?
I want to know when Highways did the traffic thing regarding Sharia School from there and the time periods. Was there any thing done regarding the time of school and the traffic that's coming out at school time and not school time? Because that road is not that far from, is it, from Sharia School?
Thank you, Chair, through you. It was the applicant that's carried out the surveys, and they did it in June of last year. So from before school started right through to after school finished. So they did it 2 days, 2 consecutive days that were school days. So they would have taken into account all the traffic going to and fro in school.
Just the last one regarding the 106 on there. How is that? What stage is that at now? And what is the agreement? It says what it says, but what can you tell me the situation on that?
So the applicant has already drafted a section 106 agreement and sent it to the council's legal team. They are considering that. And so it's a little bit further along than some applications are at this stage.
I'm just sorry. So
No, not yet.
Thank you. It's made available online. I think it's already online publicly on the application site. And I guess, is that right, Adrian? Thank you.
Yeah, there should be, if there's a draft agreement, it will be online. Should reflect what's actually set out in the appendix B here, which is what we call sort of heads of terms that goes towards the draft agreement. So having looked at what's set out in the appendix, if you've not looked online at the draft, if you have any observations on those, you can raise them now, or
Yeah.
indeed afterwards, but it's a
I'll
little bit
speak
later.
to you after about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor James?
Just one point before I say, speed limit 40 there again?
That's 30 down Crescent Road. Crescent Road.
Oh, okay, thank you. And therefore, I mean, I do like the design, particularly with the garden area, and I'm sure there's a need for this, so I would move for approval,
Are you recommending approval?
recommending approval, Chair.
Proposing it? Do I have
I'll
a
second
seconder?
it.
Okay, Martin, councillor Sarfas has seconded it. You wanted to say something, councillor Bateman?
Well, the motion's been set for approval, but yes, it's nice to see a brownfield site being used rather than a greenfield. It's a good facility. I'm sure it's well needed in Lutterworth. I had some concerns about the height with regards to the houses to the west, but I've read through the report and there's quite a large area of separation between the houses and there. So, yeah, I think it's a good development, and I'm happy to support the approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gare?
Yeah, as I said earlier, Lutterworth Town Council have looked at this very carefully, and we're also, I think, spoke to the developer, and the developer responded to suggestions from the town council. So the town council fully support this.
Thank you. Councillor Wellband?
Thank you. I just want to pick up Councillor Mrs. Page's comments in here. She talks about the car parking spaces, and I think the 30 car parking spaces in this application. And she said she has concerns that with many of the residents being elderly, there would be need for more car movements because they won't be able to walk necessarily to the town centre. So I just wanted to get some comment from officers about her comment saying that there should be 45 parking spaces and that should be fully provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so the figure of 45 comes from the Leicestershire Highway Design Guide, which is the County Council's highway design guidance. This is not a policy, it's guidance, and that is based on sort of typical care home. The applicant has carried out bespoke tricks analysis and worked out how many cars actually are going to be needed for this particular development. And the County Council Highways are satisfied with the provision of 33 parking spaces. Regarding the residents, this is quite a high level of care that's proposed in the care home. I think it's unlikely that there'll be many trips by vehicle from the residents into town. Part of the reason why, as a policy, as a council, we want care homes to be conveniently located is so that people can get to the care homes. And that's why there's services provided within this building to help meet that. So people will be able to travel to the site sustainably and indeed from. But that, I think that's part of the reason why the county council is satisfied with 33 spaces rather than their guidance of 45. I hope that.
Thank you. Anyone else got anything to say? Oh, right, I can't see you behind the pillar.
Sorry about that, I apologise. I'm asking the officers, I noticed that there's quite a bit about contaminated land. Is that because it is a brownfield site, and would you expect there could be some influence from that sort of thing? I have some experience of a brownfield site in Great Glen, where asbestos was being removed partway through the demolition, and that caused some anxiety to local residents.
Yes, thank you. Contaminated land, the officer contaminated land officer requests pre-commencement conditions for that, which the applicant has accepted. He will do that for even greenfield sites because the use is changing. Regarding asbestos, we've thought about that, and I've liaised with my colleague Rory here, the planning compliance officer, and we have worked together with the applicant on hopefully what will be a very thorough construction environmental management plan, which will accommodate if they find asbestos there.
Because it's often found indoors and roofing in these sorts of premises.
Yes, and it's old, isn't it? So it's likely to be.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll move to the vote. Been proposed by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Sarfas, that we approve this application in line with the officer's recommendation. So I'll hand over to Sarah for carry on.
So a proposal has been made to approve the application. So I'll ask each councillor in turn whether you're for the approval, against the approval, or abstain. Councillor Bateman.
For approval.
Councillor Burrell.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For the approval.
Councillor Gare.
For approval.
Councillor Graves.
For.
Councillor James.
For approval.
Councillor Moder. Councillor Sarfas.
For.
Councillor Scott.
For approval.
Councillor Wellband.
For.
And Councillor Worrell.
For.
That proposal is unanimous and the proposal has been approved.
Very much, yes, that application is approved. Thank you, everyone. So our final application tonight is 25/01644/FUL. Friendship Park. An installation of an internally illuminated art sculpture on a concrete base. And Adrian is presenting this one. Thank you, Adrian.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So this application that comes before the council as the council, or planning committee as the council, is the applicant. You'll see set out within the paperwork, it's effectively a public art sculpture proposed, dimensions within the report 2.9 metres high and a width of 1.42, and it will be internally illuminated. So I'm just having the so I'll refer to the pictures and the reports. It seems to be struggling with the mouse there. You'll see the images in the report. It's obviously, you'll see within the report as well, there was an objection. There is an objection to this in terms of concerns about noise and disturbance actually from the Friendship Park. So what we're not discussing is that issue particularly tonight. We're talking about the art within the proposed art within the park. And then it says the sculpture will increase light entering a flat during night time. There is a recommended condition actually that seeks to control the level of luminance, and in fact hours. It's not specified in the paperwork there, but it talks about I think it's 3 50-watt light bulbs and a 12 PM midnight cut-off. So it's recently developed. Friendship Park is going to be very well known to people in this meeting. The sculpture was set slightly back to the far corner. We'll have a natural finish. It will weather. So the illumination will be controlled. I acknowledge the objections, but from an officer's point of view, in the round. We think it will make a positive contribution, attractive feature, innovative effectively. We don't consider, particularly the levels of control and levels of illumination, that it would cause harm. And hence we've recommended it for approval, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. We've got no speakers on this, so I'll hand it over to the committee. Councillor Scott. Put your microphone.
I notice it's going to be made out of a certain type of steel. Is it to naturally rust or?
Yeah, so yeah, the colour of it is called natural patina, is it, Mark? We're just going to, but yeah, I think that's effectively what will happen.
I know it's objective, but I just don't like that sort of rusting of material, but there we go.
That's a Moda.
Thanks, Chair. The friendship quotes, what does it say?
Okay, so yeah, I think there's a series of quotes. I had printed it off actually because I appreciate you can't make that out. Unfortunately, I've not brought the print work down with me. That's effectively a series of. I mean, one of them was by Seneca, I think, is a Roman person, isn't it? But so I don't have them in front of me, unfortunately. There are.
Is it in French or English?
No, they're kind of well-meaning, you know.
But is it in French or is it?
No, it's in English, I think.
The quotes in English.
I'm just sort of saying because on it says "say ECK," which means it is here.
I think that's just an illustration of what it might look like.
Oh, I see. So it's going to be in English.
Yes.
It would be nice to actually read what was going to be put.
It's parts of it, but you can't read the
I
whole.
can't really read the whole thing.
So,
Uh-huh.
I did get a copy of. I think there are draft. There's sort of a dozen phrases that would run. I think on here it's this is illustrative, but there are actually a series of draft phrases. Ultimately, what's written on there or not, I would say wouldn't be for this planning decision, to be honest. But I can supply that separately to you.
Let's hope that the words are symbolic to friendship.
They are.
And the only thing is with something like this, I was just listening on the radio the other day, and it was the Leicester mayor that was being interviewed, and he'd done something similar to this in Jubilee Square in the city, and he put these lovely lights out, and they only lasted 4 months, and then everything stopped working. And there was loads of people ringing in saying, well, you spent all this money sort of illuminating all this beautiful, and now it's stopped. It only worked for 4 months. And he sort of said, oh, well, the maintenance was costing too much. And we've got to now divert. And it looks so pretty, but I mean, will it actually sustain itself going forward? Because really, you don't want something that's going to be put there and then not be illuminated going forward and looked after. I mean, that's my only concern after listening to that.
So ultimately, it's the maintenance and the management if it comes forward, and really that would be outside. I appreciate the points you're making, and I can think of a part not too far from here where Buddard Lighting, some of you will probably know about. I talked to John Kemp, and it's so I get the point, but ultimately it shouldn't. Probably something to take it outside of the planning decision. It would be a management operational matter really if it goes ahead.
Thank you, Adrian. I mean, I'm only just saying this because from what I heard, he was really being grilled by the public on this. It was a phone in. And now what's happened is that it's just vandalized. You know, whatever's there now has just become sort of so obsolete and not working properly. It's been vandalized. It's attracting problems. And I just would hate to see something so beautiful attract those similar issues going forward, and then for us to be sat here next year or the year after saying, well, what do we do with it? And just comments that I think are pretty viable when we're.
I think it's fair comments. I think they're probably not with respect for the planning committee. They're probably elsewhere as the assets team or something, and they'll listen to this meeting, so they'll hear what you say.
That's well done.
Yes, thank you. I have to say I'm not a fan at all. I think I saw a picture last night of what Gallantry Gate in Leicester looked like in the mid-90s, and it was full of flower beds and flowers. It looked fantastic. And I think there are much cheaper and better ways of making open spaces beautiful. And I have to say, this is not one of them. I think in 5 years' time, probably less, this will look rubbish. I think it looks rubbish now, to be honest. And just putting some meaningless phrases on a piece of metal, which, and I know what you're saying, Adrian, we can't discuss the ongoing maintenance, but it will be down to the district council to maintain this facility. I just don't like it, and I think you could make that space nice by planting some flower beds and making it a nice open space. This, I don't think achieves that. Thank you.
Councillor Moder?
I'm sorry, I've just read here it's Corten steel, and I've got some of that on my borders. So it sort of separates sort of my grass to the pebble stones all the way along sort of my pathway at the back. And it's quite a harsh structure. I think you've got to be very careful where you put something like this. And I'm just like looking at it, feeling that it might just be a little bit out of place in something that's so sort of idyllic and rural and countryside. I don't know. That's just my subjective view on it. But thanks.
Okay, and thank you, Councillor. I just wanted to come back on a couple of things. I noticed what you say about the structure. Again, it'd be a matter of opinion in council, and obviously, but as we got onto the quotes, I have got, these are example quotes. So I'm just going to read out a couple because so I did have them. I just didn't get to circulating them. So, for example, it would be along the lines of, there's one by Seneca. One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. There's one by Albert Hubbard. A friend is someone who knows all about you and still loves you. And then there's a top one which says, a real friend is one who walks in when the rest of the world walks out. Walter Winchell. So you know, they're illustrative. That's the, and again, it wouldn't go to the heart of the planning decision, but it just goes back to that question.
Councillor James?
I just want to say, and for Councillor Wellband also, I mean, this is not a traditional park. It's never been as a traditional park. It's a natural, it's a meeting place for friendship. We have bird boxes, bat boxes, the trees are selected for wildlife. So it's quite different to sort of what you might think of as an ornamental park. And the only other comment I would make is that this park's been there for almost 12 months, I think. We have never had and it's an open park, and we've never had any single item of vandalism at all. It's used a lot by older people. We have apartment blocks around there, and people walk to the town and they sit there and have a restful. We have younger people who chat there in the evening, and it's achieving everything we really wanted to set out. People want to meet and chat, and on the seats there, they do so. If they want to rest there, they can see the wildlife around sometimes. So I think it's been quite a success, and I think this piece of art will, and it's all about the friendship, will be okay. And I think it's been pretty successful so far, and I'm sure it'll continue that way. I mean, the maintenance, the steel we're using is no maintenance, really, minimal. The lighting, I think, is very low wattage. There's a power supply there from the mast, if you remember, and the mast has gone, and all the vandalism's gone, and all the things that were going on there. It's been quite a successful change, I think. So I think the decisions here are right. And I understand that there'll be a little, obviously, a bit of maintenance, but it won't be an issue around this. We've got maintenance provision anyway. And in terms of the sculpture, FCC, a contractor, have donated funds for that. So there's no capital cost involved in this at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Graves?
Yeah, just brief comments. I see no reason to object to this planning application. I think Councillor James is the only Market Harbour Town member here. His support of the park hopefully indicates that he would support that Market Harbour Town continues paying for everything. And I did raise internal concerns about £140,000 district asset being gifted to the town of Market Harbour, but I think that time has come and gone. But I do remain concerned that the town was gifted it and it hadn't actually paid for it.
Thank you. Councillor Moder?
Thanks. I mean, to me, I think that, yes, there should be something there in the park. It would be beautiful to have something artistic there. And art is great, it's subjective and it opens debate. And this is what we're having here. But to me, personally, I think I look at that and I see that causing issues going forward. I mean, for one, we have all the issues with regards to the parks in Kibworth and the surrounding villages. That looks like a dustbin to me. That I can see some kids, some teenagers literally throwing cans into that. I just, it just to me feels like it's an attraction to kids wanting to do something to that. I mean, it looks like a baked bean can or a bin that you'd sort of see. But I'm just weary of the fact of putting something like that in and then down the line having to sweep up the problems that it's going to cause. But I'm not against the art, it's just that particular structure.
Councillor James?
Quick one for Councillor Moder. It's a lot better than the mass that was there before. I'll just say,
Work of art.
wow, some people.
Okay, Councillor Scott?
I think perhaps to help Councillor Moder here, it actually says in 3.2 that the sculpture would be, sorry, it describes how it will be lit, and then it says an additional lid would be fitted to the top and bolted for access. But the picture doesn't really.
No. Okay. Has anyone got anything to say? Because if they haven't, I'm going to propose this from the chair that we accept this one. Okay. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Sarfas? Councillor Sarfas just did.
Oh, it's good then.
You still got something to say, Councillor Scott?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll hand it over to Sarah. It's been proposed and seconded that we approve this application.
So a proposal is made to approve the application. I'll now ask each councillor in turn whether you are for the approval, against the approval or abstain. Councillor Bateman?
Yeah, for approval.
Councillor Burrows?
For.
Councillor Elliott?
For.
Councillor Gare?
Abstain.
Councillor Graves?
For.
Councillor James?
For.
Councillor Moder?
Against.
Councillor Sarfas?
No.
Councillor Scott?
Against.
Councillor Wellband?
Against.
Councillor Worrell?
For.
So we have 7 councillors voting for the proposal, 3 councillors voting against and 1 councillor abstaining. So the motion to approve the application is carried.
Thank you. So that application is approved and that ends our applications for tonight. We now have a report from the Planning Enforcement Officer. I'll hand it over to you, Michaela, to introduce your report. Thank you. It's on page 205.
Thank you, Chair. Prepared this report to provide some background information on the planning enforcement position and performance over a 24-month period from the 1st of December 2023 to the 30th of November 2025. I realise it's a big report and for whatever reason it's been a long time since this has come to committee, but going forward I'd intend to do this quarterly just to make it a little bit easier for everybody. I feel it's important to keep you all updated on the work that the planning enforcement team is doing. I realise it's an emotive and sensitive subject, but as I always say, I'm happy to communicate and be transparent on the issues that we're dealing with across the district. But I do bear in mind tonight's a public forum, so probably quite limited as to what we can discuss. I'm also aware it's been a long week of planning committee for you guys, so unless you really want me to, I don't intend to go through this report section by section, just keep it high level. And if you've got any specific queries, you can shout tonight or contact me direct at another time. So essentially, as a team of 4, we are by and large meeting our KPIs, conscious of a couple of areas of non-compliance occasionally, but processes are being put in place. Sometimes this is just through circumstances such as team members changing, training issues, absence or overall workload. And any KPI failure is generally not caused by a lack of attention. For example, KPI DM30, that is an 8-week closure for cases. However, we always try to resolve issues amicably with people to resolve breaches. Sometimes that takes us over 8 weeks, and that's the case as well if we request retrospective applications. So table 3 shows the total cases opened and closed across the period of the report. As you can see, we're broadly closing the cases that we open and do not have any backlog. Table 4 sets out the figures for the last 3 financial years and shows also the number of notices issued. We always say as a team that we feel that our negotiation powers have failed if we get to the point where we have to serve a notice. But obviously there are cases where we have tried to resolve an issue, but have been unsuccessful. And then obviously enforcement action is taken. I realise that there are quite a lot of cases in sections 2.9, 2.10 and 2.11, and I don't intend to go through each one of those separately, but like I say, if you need any further information on a specific case, you can contact me directly to get some further information on that. And finally, we in 2014, we employed a compliance officer, got Rory, sat next to me. And he's really made good progress with the developers on the bigger sites in terms of getting on site, building relationships with key personnel, getting on at an early stage and being proactive has really made a difference from our point of view. We're getting less complaints into the main planning enforcement inbox, which shows that obviously the work being carried out is being successful. I think there's always going to be issues on these big sites. A lot of them obviously are quite controversial, but by Rory getting on site and meeting people at an early stage it's clearly working. And that's it really from me. Just want to keep it.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have some queries? Councillor Graves?
Yeah, thank you. Just one general point. It is a really old case, but it's just, if I could just have 1 or 2 minutes just to remind everybody and actually check with you what the current situation is with this type of issue. Some of the longer serving members here will recall that 500 houses came to Port Astley with the neighbourhood plan, and there was a promised road junction that was going to be expanded with an extra filter lane that was required to be completed before the occupation of almost any of the houses or something. In the end, it was delivered 3.5 years late. I started chasing it after 6 months. The reason for mentioning it now is the planning enforcement in a better situation? Because back then, after 12, 18, 24 months, the only response then was, we've contacted the developer who was meant to pay for it, and they've promised to do it. We believe them, case closed. And I mean, it was ridiculous. You know, I ended up putting in FOIs, and county council managers were emailing each other saying, oh, this is getting political now, but it was 2.5 years later. The reason I raised a historical case now is I don't want to see any more going forward like this, because in the intervening period, there were accidents there and literally blood was spilt because the filter lane wasn't there. It was too busy, multiple police cars, fire engines, ambulancemen, you know. In other words, if there's a clear breach and it's over a year, us councillors want to enforce it. We want to see you go legal, do something, because there's going to be more accidents in a case like this. And it went on for 3 years with the planning enforcement team literally saying the developers promised to do it. We believe them. They seem to be getting on with it. Nothing. And they weren't. So that's a very general case. It's not, I've got one little specific question in relation to this, but could I ask you, is it better now? Are you actually taking action against long-term failures to follow through with obligations?
I think there's a couple of issues there. The first one is obviously, like I say, we've got a compliance officer now, and on a bigger development like that, Rory would be on site early doors and would be sort of chasing things like that up from an early stage. The second one is, I think when it's with highways, it's a little bit more complicated because we're sometimes in the hands of the Highways Authority, which can cause delays. But I think, again, with the compliance officer, that's something that you can keep on top of. And honestly.
If I could just say one thing on the highways front, there's been times on a couple of cases where I've had, you know, for highway related conditions, they'll go out to reconsult and they'll request amendments quite frequently, on specific applications that concern highways. So that can set things back at times. I'm not saying it's exclusively for this site, but on previous experience, we have had that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it just led to residents making accusations, literally making accusations of brown envelopes after a while.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
very
thank you,
difficult to do
Mark.
that. Just one very specific, sorry, a general issue, but it comes from a specific case. I won't raise the specific issue, but with much more lower level specific breaches, for example, garden structures within 2 metre boundaries that are over 2.5 metres. I noticed there's one here where it was 3.2 metres, and it looks like the appeals have been rejected and the enforcement notice has been upheld. What happens next? Do you literally start sending notices saying you've got to take it apart and do it again?
Yeah, so if we've served a notice that's been appealed, then and the inspectors obviously hold the appeal, then whatever the compliance period is in that notice, then we'll allow that from the appeal date, from the date of the inspector's decision.
And
So if it's 6 months. Or
yeah, and I
whatever,
think the
then-
inspector has rejected the appeal.
Yeah.
He's upheld the enforcement notice. And then do you as a team say, right, well, you've got until this date,
Yeah.
you've got to take it down or
Exactly.
lower it anyway?
Well, yeah, I mean, whatever it said, whatever the original compliance date was in the notice, then we'll allow that from the date of the inspector's decision.
Yeah.
And then we'll sort of proactively make sure that the notice is complied with.
And are there some statistics in the report where it indicates how many of these you don't enforce? I suppose I'm getting at, in other words, let go. Is there those statistics here?
No, but certainly, I mean, one of the things I wanted to mention tonight was obviously this is a new thing for me. It's this is the first time I've brought this to committee, so I'm happy to take some feedback. And if there is other information that you'd feel, you want to see in the report, then I can add that for next time. So if that's something you want me to look at, I'm more than happy to.
I wonder, Chair, if that's a bit more of a scrutiny issue, but after planning committee, we've not got many minutes of energy left. I know.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about.
Sometimes ward members receive the phrase it's not expedient to enforce and cases closed, and the residents are just fuming and we're a little bit fuming. Those are the difficult ones.
I mean, the difficult for us, not expedient, is a
Horrible phrase.
It's not really a phrase.
Shall we carry on? Councillor Scott?
Does your remit go forward to looking at S106?
No, we don't.
You have
enforce.
no
Yeah, that's
control over that at all.
more of a legal agreement.
So that would need a legal judgment made against it. So, but could an enforcement, you would advise someone if they came to you and said this hasn't been done as a condition of a particular development, then you would advise them to take legal action, would you?
If it was a breach of the 106, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor James?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. There's lots of information in here and it's good to see that. But there's a point I've raised before, actually, a few years before. And what I'd like to see is an overview of all of this. In other words, there are 100 enforcement complaints and, 25% are developers, 10% is chopping down listed trees, things like that, just to get an overview where the problems are, and with new developers, there are various issues there. It might be that they haven't used the right materials, or they've built so many houses and they still haven't put the cycle route in and things like that. Just to get an overview picture of where the effort is on enforcement, because you've got a whole variety of issues, haven't you? We've got some case histories in here, but I would appreciate if we can have an overview of what's going on in the district in terms of enforcement. Yeah,
Absolutely, I can add that to the next report.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Elliott?
Yeah, just like to say that when I joined the council many years ago, there was hundreds of enforcement cases open. And now it seems to have come together. And I'm pleased we're having these reports. And thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one question? I don't know whether you can answer it. You probably won't want to answer it, but now we've refused the Woodway Lane site. What happens next?
That's a very good
Can't answer it.
And probably, no, we're still looking at options and, obviously, yeah,
Okay.
quite a sensitive one.
Some good answers, actually. Good question. I mean, that's a good example. A few of us here have spoken quite a bit about that since Tuesday. So there's a lot goes on, but obviously you can only say so much when proceedings in place effectively.
Right, okay. If that's all, I think we'll close the meeting and say thank you very much for your report and close the meeting at 9:02. That's right. Thank you, everyone. It's been a bit of a week, hasn't it?